Hello viewers, and welcome to the latest entry in the LOTR LCG Progression Series, a production by Cardboard of the Rings, the bi-weekly podcast about the Lord of the Rings, the card game, which is a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games. This is Mitch.
And I'm Matthew.
And this time we're going to be attempting to play through the second scenario of the Heirs of Numenor Deluxe expansion. This is Into Ithilien. So Matthew, why don't you catch us up on our story?
Having reached the eaves of Ithilien, our heroes enter the green woodlands in search of Faramir, seeking to deliver to him the scroll of Lord Alcaron. There they are met by Caledor, a ranger of Gondor, who informs the heroes that Faramir has taken his men to Caer Andros in anticipation of an assault against the island fortress. Caledor offers to bring the heroes to Caer Andros by secret paths after the rangers ambush a company of Southrons marching north on the Ithilien road. Grateful for Caledor's offer and unable to stand by while his men do battle, our heroes volunteer to fight alongside his rangers.
So now that we've caught up on our story, why don't we go ahead and take a look at our player decks. And in this video, I'm going to be using 3 dwarf heroes, Dane to bolster the strength of all dwarves, Thorin and Ori, so that as soon as I hit that 5 dwarf threshold, I'm going to be gaining additional resources and additional card draw. I've got some rather strange choices in this deck, just because Matthew and I have put a ton of effort into deck building a pair of decks that'll hopefully excel, or at least perform adequately against this very difficult scenario. So I've got some non-standard picks, like Longbeard Mapmaker, just because hopefully, near the end of the scenario, I'll have enough resource acceleration to just pump a pile of lore resources into giving that character a simply absurd amount of willpower. I've got some healing effects we don't normally use, just because Matthew and I are very concerned about untimely deaths at the hand of the nasty enemies in this encounter deck, and I've got some more traditional choices as well, like Hardy Leadership to help us overcome the treachery blocking wargs, and a new card, Ranger Spikes, to give us all the more chance against some of these enemies.
My deck is relatively similar to last time, though I've switched out Legolas, as much as I love him, for Thalon. This quest has dreaded nasty bats that do a lot of damage to questing characters, and I do not want to deal with that. By and large, my allies are the same. I did sub in Wing Guardian to help with siege questing, and Veteran Axehand, my trusty little friend from the core set, is back. I took out the Rivendell Blade and put in Horn of Gondor because I was struggling a little bit with resources in the last quest, largely because of pickpockets and whatnot, but I sort of think there's going to be a lot of allies disappearing, and this should hopefully help me replace them more quickly. Finally, I added Swift Strike, a card that I don't believe has been used yet in the progression series, to help Baragon, hopefully armed with some of these spears, to take out some enemies, and also added a couple copies of Khazad to help us should we need an extra boost either in attacking enemies or when doing battle questing. So let's hope that these tweaks are enough to overcome Into Ithilien.
I can't say that I'm overly optimistic, but
I can't say I am either. I don't know if I should boast or mention my previous record on this quest, but it is abysmal. But my deck is different than I've ever used on this quest, so we'll see how it goes.
Alright, well, in the face of some pretty daunting odds and against a very nasty encounter deck, why don't we nevertheless shuffle our decks and draw our opening hand of 6 cards, hoping for something stellar.
I think I'm going to go ahead and take... My hand's okay, but I think I'm going to go ahead and take a mulligan.
My hand is really strange. I guess a couple Cram, a couple We Are Not Idle, questing Dwarf that would be nice if we didn't start off against the battle mechanic, but I'm definitely going to have to take a mulligan.
Okay.
And, let's see how my cards are. I guess I'm not feeling too great about what I got.
Yikes.
But, it looks like I'm stuck with it, so...
Okay.
How did your mulligan end up going?
I am actually pretty pleased with my mulligan, so I should be having a pretty good first turn.
Well, as much as my deck is designed to try and hit the ground running, get as many dwarves into play as quickly as possible, I'm not so sure that's going to be possible, but I guess let's give our first attempt a shot here.
Well, let's hope the 7th card you draw is fantastic.
Yeah. Alright, so taking a look at the mechanics unique to this scenario, Quest Phase 1A reads Add Celador, an objective ally, to the staging area. We have to search the encounter deck for a copy of Ithilien Road and make it the active location. In addition to that, we have to search the encounter deck for one copy of Southern Company each and add it to the staging area and then shuffle the encounter deck. So Celador, this ally with 2s for all of his stats and 3 hit points, sitting in the staging area is considered committed to the current quest. But if we quest unsuccessfully or a character leaves play, we deal 1 damage to Celador. If he leaves play, we remove him from the game, and if at any point he dies, we end up going to Quest Phase 2. If he lives, we end up making it to Quest Phase 3. So whether or not he lives or dies ends up dictating where we go for our essentially second quest phase. Our first quest phase here, we have to use the battle mechanic, so we're going to be questing using attack strength instead of willpower strength. And our current active location is this nasty 4-threat, 4-quest point Forest Road, where while it remains the active location, the engagement cost of each enemy is 0. And seeing as how we've got 2 very nasty enemies beginning the game in play with us, and there are a ton of hideous guys filling this encounter deck, it's going to be of the utmost importance that we try to get that location down as quickly as possible. So I'm very bummed out I didn't get a cheap first turn ally to kick into play to help us with that, because these Southern companies, given that our first quest phase has the battle keyword, each have 3 threat and 5 attack. So if these come down and engage with us, that is going to be a complete nightmare. But that is basically the quest. Matthew and I are going to try to save Celador's life so that we have to deal with this third quest card where it's traditional willpower questing. There's not a battle or siege mechanic to deal with, but we'll have to see how it turns out. So, I suppose, shall we take our first turn?
Let's do it.
Alright, so the first player in this instance, should it be me or should it be you?
Nah, let's not break tradition.
Alright, I'm just trying to think of how many enemies may or may not come down.
Well, that's not going to matter, I don't think.
Yeah, I suppose if anything comes down, it'll probably be death to us, whether we can defend or not. So let me draw my first card, which was not anything worth drawing. Since I'm not feeling too optimistic about my start, I'm going to go ahead and do We Are Not Idle, picking 0. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a replacement card, and this is actually something a hell of a lot better than I had. So I'm going to spend 2 resources for a Steward of Gondor. I'll trigger that right away on Ori, and I'm going to go ahead and pay all of those resources immediately for a Longbeard Mapmaker. So as soon as we can get out of this battle mechanic, potentially that could be at least, well, an additional 3 or so willpower turns. So
okay.
I think that's it for me.
Alright. I will be playing a Spear of the Citadel for free on Baragon.
Alright, certainly don't mind seeing that.
I will be playing a Light of Valinor on Glorfindel.
Fantastic.
And I will be playing a Trollshaw Scout for 2.
Awesome. So maybe I feel a little bit better about this start than I did, but we'll have to see what happens. So
Yep.
I suppose that brings us to our very first quest phase. I suppose I should send everything I've got. So it's going to be a total of 9 for me. I'll go ahead and calculate Celador's attack strength into my total of 11.
I will send 3 for Thalin, 2 for the Trollshaw Scout, so that's 5, plus 3 from Glorfindel for a total of 8.
Alright, so it looks like we're going to be doing a grand total of 19. We're up against 6. We're hoping to make at least 4 progress.
Is the encounter deck shuffled, just to make sure?
I was about to, so let's go ahead and flick over to that.
Although I think these days I could do it myself with this new version.
Really?
I think I read that both players can now do things to the encounter deck.
Well, at some point you'll have to try it out. So the encounter deck is now shuffled. We're going to be using keyboard shortcuts yet again. So encounter card number 1 is a blocking wargs. So this is going to surge and deal 1 damage to each character committed to the quest. So that is an awful lot of damage. So encounter card number
Please no blocking
1
wargs. Oh,
is a Mumok. So this is engagement cost 38. This is a 1 copy card. I think before the video, were you saying you'd never seen this before, Matthew?
yeah. He was almost always a shadow effect, or he came out so late in the game it didn't matter as much. But I have never had to tangle with the Mumok. It's never come down out of the staging area. Yeah, so first for everything.
Right. So 4 threat that's probably going to be sitting in the staging area for quite a while.
Yeah.
So we're off to a fantastic start.
Yeah.
Encounter card number 2.
So let me ask you a question, Mitch. On blocking wargs, deal 1 damage to each character committed to the quest. Does Kelador count as a character committed to the quest?
Ah, yes, you're totally right. So I'm going to go ahead and add a point of damage to him. So we are a third of the way toward him being killed. Anyhow, our second quest card here is Overgrown Trail, and this is a 4 threat location, so it looks like we're going to be up against a total of 14, which fortunately we are going to make 5 progress, but this is a very, very nasty 6 quest point location. So I'm going to go ahead and do 4 quest points on Ithilien Road, which means it's explored, and an entire 1 point on our current quest card. So for travel, do we want to go to the Overgrown Trail?
Yeah, we have to. There's really no choice. As much as the 6 progress sucks, the 4 threat's even worse.
Right, and Baragond is a warrior, he's not ranger, so
Nope.
I guess your Trollshaw Scout isn't a ranger either, which is really too bad.
I'm not sure if I have any rangers in my deck.
Let's make that active. We've got a number of different enemies here, so for engagement, none of them have to engage with us, but do we want to try and deal with one of these?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take one of the Southrons.
Alright, so I'll bring him down to you. For me, I suppose I'm going to leave him sitting in the staging area.
Okay.
So let's do 1 shadow card for your Southron. And how do you want to defend?
Baragond, of course.
So 1 damage right away from the Spear of the Citadel. And shadow card is this enemy attacks again after this attack resolves with a new shadow card. So Baragond will take 1 point of damage from the 5 attack strength, and at this point we've got to deal a new shadow card, and he is going to make an additional attack. So
that's a dead hero, Mitch.
It's not looking too good for you.
I mean, it's a dead hero no matter what, so...
So, certainly something that Matthew and I talked about happening before this video is potentially doing a lot of rapid-fire attempts as opposed to making a separate, distinct video for each soul-crushing loss. So, at this point, shall we essentially reset, having lost a hero on the first turn?
Yeah.
Alright, that shadow card would have been remove 3 progress tokens.
I wouldn't have minded that the first time at all.
Yeah, so certainly things could have gone much differently. I think the Haradrim Elite was something like a 10% chance, maybe slightly higher, of drawing that as a shadow card, so pick one of your heroes, it would have died. At this point, why don't we go ahead and reset? So, thanks to the magic of video editing, we should be ready for our second attempt right away. So why don't we go ahead and shuffle our decks and draw our opening hand of 6 cards. So for my opening hand, it looks like I can do a couple tricks with this, and it should end up working out fairly well. How about yourself?
Well, my mulligan turned out okay. Did not get Light of Valinor, so we'll just have to see how that goes.
Alright, well, I suppose at this point we might as well do our first turn again and draw 1 card. I've made myself first player, so right away I'm going to do 1 resource off of Ori to do Legacy of Durin on him. I'm going to do We Are Not Idle, exhausting Ori to add 1 resource to Thorin's resource pool. I'm going to get rid of that. I will draw 1 card to replace it. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 resources to play Feely. As he enters play, I trigger Legacy of Durin and draw 1 card. And I'm going to end up looking through my deck for his Spirit Buddy. Close and shuffle that. And put him into play. I've got one of our new traps to drop possibly next turn. And I think that's all I'm gonna do.
Alright, Sphere of the Citadel for free on Baragond.
Alright.
Winged Guardian for 1. And that is it for me.
Alright, so let's see how this goes. Committing characters to the quest. I'll do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'll go ahead and include Celador in my total again. So I'm going to be sending 10.
I'll do 6 for sure. I suppose I'll go ahead and raise my threat by 1 to bring my total up to 9.
So it looks like we're going to be sending a total of 19 to the quest. I'll just verify that our encounter deck is indeed shuffled, and encounter card number 1 is another Overgrown Trail.
Okay.
Encounter card 2 is a Secluded Glade.
Not too bad.
Right. So it looks like we're up against a total of 7, 10, 13, which means we're going to make 6 progress. 4 gets rid of Ithilien Road, and 2 is going to go on our current quest card. So for getting rid of one of these locations. So I suppose even though the Secluded Glade is quite a bit weaker, we should probably get as much threat out of the staging area as possible. So let's go to that Overgrown Trail, and that will bring us to engagement.
Well, now I'm scared from our first attempt. I could certainly pull one out to help with threat. Baragon can defend, but if I have to deal with another attack, that's a dead hero.
Right. I do have a healer in my hand. I was thinking of next turn spending my lore resources to maybe drop a trap instead.
Let's be risky here. We got to get rid of this threat. It's so much. The locations, the enemies have such high threat in this particular quest. Let me risk it. Let me take a Southron.
Alright, probably the less time we spend playing this quest, the better, so might as well get him out of there. Here's a Shadow card.
Good old Baragon. Come on for the win.
So he takes a point of damage from the spear. Shadow effect is nothing.
Nice.
Much better to see him in this form. So, end of combat, I'll get rid of that Shadow card. Celador took no damage this round. Neither of us can do anything against the Southern Company sitting right there, so shall we refresh?
Let's do it.
Alright, so refresh. And draw 1 card. I'll make you first player. Let's do our resources.
Okay.
And what are you going to be playing this turn?
I will be playing a Trollshaw Scout. And that is it for me.
Okay. So for my turn, I'm going to do 1 resource off of Dane for a Song of Wisdom on Thorin. I'll strip 1 resource off of Ori for an Erebor Record Keeper. I'm going to go ahead and draw 1 card, which was a Resource Acceleration effect. Awesome. I'll spend 2 resources from Thorin's resource pool in order to do Steward of Gondor, also on Thorin. So I'll pump 2 resources into him, and I'm going to go ahead and spend those as lore resources to do a Ranger Spikes unattached into the staging area. So next enemy that enters is going to end up getting skewered.
Fantastic. I love that card.
Definitely, definitely. So at this point, I've got quite a few guys. Coming up soon, I've got a dwarf hit point bolstering effect. I've got a healer. I have an Astari. So depending on what we see...
You know what I missed last turn, Mitch? Baragon should have taken a damage. Because he's swinging for 5. Southron's swinging for 5, and I forgot to give him 1.
Oh, my mistake. I assumed he already had 1. So I suppose at this point, shall we quest?
Yes. So I will send all 4 of my characters for 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. And then if you want me to add Celador to mine, I'm at 13.
Alright, sure. We might as well swap him around. I will do 4, 5, 6, 7, a total of 11. I'm going to hold back my Record Keeper just because next turn this might be helpful to help you overcome that Southern Company. So don't want to risk losing him. So I'll be sending a total of 11 willpower. You're sending 13?
Yeah. Willpower, battle, whatever.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Attack strength.
Yep.
So total of 24. Hopefully this will end up working out. So let's see what we get.
All right.
Encounter card number
Come on,
1
Ranger spiked enemy. Oh, boo.
is raise each player's threat by the number of questing characters,
Oh,
and this is
no.
going to gain Surge. You don't happen to have a cancel, do you?
I sure don't. We go up by 8.
Wow. So it looks like I am going to be sitting at 40 threats, and all of a sudden this Southern company in the staging area is going to come down and engage me. Looks like I know what I'm going to be using the Astari in my hand for. So this also gains Surge
Alright.
because we're on the battle keyword, so as if Doom Date wasn't enough to make a card. So encounter card number 1 is each player removes one character he controls from the quest, if able. I'm going to remove one of my...
And you know, I don't think I raised my threat because of Glorfindel, so I'm really at 35.
Okay. And I'll remove one of my dwarf characters here from the quest. So our total's 22 from me, and I guess, do you want to get rid of your Trollshaw Scout?
Yep, I already subtracted it.
Alright, so our total is now 20, and this does not surge. Encounter card number 2...
Hey.
is a Morgul Spider, which basically gets snared by our Ranger Spikes, so we do not make engagement checks against this enemy.
Takes a damage from Thalon.
Right, so there's that 1 Thalon damage, and it looks like until the end of the round, of course he's stuck here in the staging area, but he ends up getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 5 attack until the end of the round, so... And you know, come to think of it, why don't I look at that Treachery card we just revealed, where this is, the number of questing characters, so I don't think we counted Celador, so why don't we go ahead and bump up our threat by another point. So I'm sitting at 41, and you're at 36.
Mm-hmm.
But we've made it through another staging. We've committed a total of 20 that made it. We're up against 1, 4, 5, 6, 7... and we're going to make 13 progress.
All right.
So 6 is going to be absorbed by our location here, and that leaves 7 to go on our current quest phase, so we've got 9 out of those 15 points required.
Okay.
And for travel, do we want to go to Secluded Glade?
Sure.
Alright, no-brainer there. The Southern Company is going to engage with one of us. I think what I'm going to do is just accept my fate, and I'll actually optionally engage him. So we can each have one, Dane can tank one, and Baragon can tank one as well. I'll be doing that healer, so hopefully that'll take some heat off of us. Maybe I'll even have enough dwarves left over at some point to try and get rid of him.
Okay.
So for combat, let's do a shadow card to yours and a shadow card to mine. How do you want to deal?
Baragon.
Alright, so 1 damage to the Southern Company. Let's flip that shadow card, which is nothing, fortunately.
I'll remember the damage this time.
Very well done. For me, Dane Ironfoot will block the Southern Company, and shadow card is nothing, thank God.
Yeah.
The big thing here being, of course, if Matthew or myself would have gotten a deals another attack after this one, could have likely been lethal. I suppose maybe a feint could have prevented that, but anyway, neither of us have anything we can do against these enemies. Let's get rid of these shadow cards.
Don't forget that Dane takes 2 damage.
Oh, that's right. How simple to forget something so critical. So, why don't we go ahead and refresh? And if you'd make me first player, that warning signal always makes me really nervous about an impending octagon crash. I'll draw 2 cards because of my 5 dwarves. I'll do my resources. And at this point, I've got an interesting option. So I could ambush a wizard into play, which even though it would deal 1 point of damage to Celador, that's quite a powerful effect that's definitely worth considering. And I suppose the obvious thing is it doesn't look like there's anything preventing us from targeting him with healing effects.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to hold off onto that until questing.
Okay.
So why don't I do 2 resources for a Warden of Healing, and the only other thing I think I'm going to do on my turn is I'm going to go ahead and trigger my Steward of Gondor, and I'm going to take 2 resources off of Thorin in order to do a hearty leadership on Thorin, just in case we get multiple blocking wargs or something horrific like that happens. And that is all I'm going to be doing for my turn.
Okay, I'm not going to be playing anything on my turn.
Okay, so that leads us to questing, and I think what I'm going to do right away is I'll spend one resource off Dane Ironfoot, and I'm going to go ahead and use Sneak Attack.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
And I'm going to pick Gandalf to be put into play. So that's going to be 4 points of damage to this Southern Company, thinking that this will make an excellent target for Baragon's Spear of the Citadel. And for committing characters to the quest, I will do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, and 15, and I'll include Celador in my total. So that's going to be a total of 17 I'm committing to the quest. We don't have too much progress to make. And how about yourself?
So I'll send 6, 7, 8.
So it looks like that's going to be a total of 25 attack strength committed to this quest. We only need 9 to finish, and we're up against 1. So let's see what we get. Encounter card number 1 is an Ithilien Guardian. So while it's in the staging area, he's committed to the current quest. So that's going to boost us up to 27 committed.
Okay.
But he does gain Surge. So encounter card number 1 is a Southern Mercenaries, which has Archery 2. At the beginning of combat, we take some damage. Next and final card is another Southron Company. So both of these enemies are going to come and engage us. We're up against 3, 4, 5, 6 threat. So we are going to make 21 progress. We're going to get rid of our active location, and then that makes 18 on our current quest phase. So we're going to have 27 out of that. At the present moment, Celador is still alive, so we're going to end up progressing to the third phase of the quest.
Yep.
So this says, when revealed, the first player takes control of all ranger objectives in the staging area.
Well, that was a timely Ithilien Guardian.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and take these, and I suppose since these are both rangers, it's going to make any future what are they called? Overgrown trails, pretty manageable.
Yep.
So both of those are under my control. The quest phase will now end. Gandalf bounces back to my hand. So even though he's no longer in the staging area, Celador still takes 1 point of damage. But I've at least got some additional allies helping me out here. So it looks like we've got 3 enemies in the staging area. At the present moment, we have a new rule that says enemies do not make engagement checks and cannot be optionally engaged.
Okay.
So there's nothing we can really do with either of these guys. There's no keyword for this quest, so this is a 1 threat, 3 attack enemy. Once we get to our 4th quest phase, because both of our threats are currently 37 or higher, this is going to be Siege. So the more defense characters we can get out, the better. So we don't have anywhere to travel to. Engagement, we essentially have to skip it. At the beginning of combat, we have to distribute 2 points of damage among all of our characters. So let's see here.
Well, your dwarves are a little hardier than my people, because of the hardy leadership.
Yeah, I could certainly do 1 to Thorin. Maybe I'll do 2 to Thorin, which should give him 4 hit points left, which is the same as Ori. So, since they're both equally susceptible to blocking wargs, that seems like a reasonable idea.
Okay.
For combat itself, let's do a shadow card to each of our characters here.
Alright, well I will be a team player and use Baragon to spear your little Southron Company dude to death.
Alright, so he immediately takes 1 point of damage, so he is killed. Let's hope for a additional attack shadow card.
No, the Moonbot one.
Not so lucky, but this is a horrific card.
Alright.
And for your guy, how do you want to deal with him?
Faint.
Alright, fantastic. So he does not attack. Let's see. Looks like you need to do 4 with an attack. So why don't I strip 1 resource off Thorin, I'll exhaust Erebor Record Keeper, and I'm going to go ahead and ready Thalon.
Why, thank you so kindly. And then Thalon and Glorfindel will beat this guy to a bloody pulp.
Alright, so they end up dealing a total of 5 damage. He's at 7, so -2, he is killed. Your shadow card that is gone Really
not
not a
too
big
bad.
deal.
Right.
I wish we could have just seen that reveal,
Right.
but
Right.
oh well. So, I suppose, end of the round, shall we refresh?
Well, would you like to use your Warden of Healing to heal?
That would probably be a reasonable idea, wouldn't
I
it?
think
So
so.
I will trigger the Warden of Healing. Why don't I strip a point of damage off of Dane? Whoops. It looks like Octagon didn't want to work there. And I suppose Baragond is probably another good idea.
Okay, thank you.
And now shall we refresh?
Let's do it.
Alright, so refresh. And I'll make you first player. I'll again draw a couple cards. And I'll do my resources, and my threat is getting alarmingly high.
Alright, so I will play a Winged Guardian.
Alright.
Just sort of in preparation for Siege.
Sure.
And that's all I can do.
Alright. And all I should do on my turn is spend all of my resources to do a Gandalf.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
And I'm pretty much left with no option but to drop my threat.
Okay.
So, at the present moment, it's looking like we've got a few enemies up against us. I don't have any convenient global readying type effect or anything like that. I'm going to go ahead and do a Darren's Runes, and I'll draw a couple cards. Let me get rid of that. These are probably the worst draws I ever could have gotten. I'll discard another copy of Legacy of Durin, and that is it for my turn.
Okay. So during the questing phase, I'm going to play a copy of Elrond's Council.
Alright.
And so I will drop my threat by 3.
Alrighty. And I suppose just keep that in mind for whatever character you want to commit to the quest.
Yep. So I'll commit Thalon. So I am sending a total of 3.
Since you're only sending 3, I'll definitely try and pick up the slack. So I will do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17. I suppose I could send a total of 21 for 24.
Right.
Hopefully we'll end up passing, but let's see what happens.
Come on back.
So encounter card number 1 is a Haradrim Elite.
Okay.
So when it enters play, it's going to deal an immediate attack against the first player, and this is you. It takes 1 damage from Thalon straight away. This kind of sucks, but let's deal it a shadow card, and who do you want to defend?
Alright, I will use my Vassal of the Windlord, and I will pay 2 resources for a Swift Strike.
Awesome. So that is going to be 2 damage right away, and it is going to be killed. So no 3 threat in the staging area, no double attacking. That Haradrim Elite is immediately killed.
Let's see that shadow card. Oh, it was a bat. Thalon would have killed it.
Yeah, let's see here. Oh, and that would have raised your threat by something like 3. So not the best shadow card, considering
But that
where
would
we
have been
are
our
in the
next
quest.
encounter card, which Thalon would have killed. So, oh well.
Right. So, any case, let's hope for another bat. Encounter card number 2
Oh, no.
is not a bat. So this is blocking wargs, 1 damage to each character committed to the quest. That is going to be a hell of a lot. None of my dwarves die because of hardy leadership, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Hopefully the final encounter card, because it does surge, is an Overgrown Trail. So this is actually pretty cool, because my rangers will be able to get rid of this next
Well,
turn.
we need to make sure to heal Kelador then, because when Gandalf leaves, he takes his
Right.
lethal point of damage.
Yep, definitely. And just like I was giving myself some props about encouraging you to include Swift Strike, I suppose you were right for once about me putting healing in my deck. So let's see, we're up against 4, 5, 6, 7, a total of 8 threat. We've committed a total of 24, so we're going to end up making 16 progress, which is more than our 12, and we transition into our final quest phase. Because my threat is higher than 37, this has the siege keyword. So all of a sudden, our Southern Company becomes nasty. All of a sudden, there's nothing preventing us from engaging some of these characters. So I suppose for travel, it doesn't really matter one way or the other whether we go to the Overgrown Trail.
Okay.
But might as well travel there just for fun.
Okay.
And for engagement, we've got 2 enemies that'll come and play with us.
So I will take the Southron Company, because I believe I have enough to kill it.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and give that to you, and I suppose I will pull Southern Mercs down to me. At the beginning of combat, we have to deal a couple points of archery damage. I suppose no reason not to put that on Gandalf.
Yeah.
And I think I want to trigger this Warden of Healing now to strip 1 point of damage off of Celador, and the other point, in this situation, I think I'm going to pick Dane as being the other recipient of healing, just because your guys attack 5. If he gets +3, Baragond is dead no matter what, whereas if mine gets +3 attack, this way Dane will be a little bit more alive than he otherwise would. So I feel like the healing would be a little wasted on Baragond, so I think that covers that.
Okay.
So shadow cards, starting with first player and then myself.
Okay.
How do you want to deal with this?
So, Baragond.
Alright, so an attack of 5...
nothing.
And no shadow card.
So
I'm so glad.
1 damage. And then the Southron takes the damage from the spear.
That's right. And for my guy, I will exhaust Dane. His shadow card is... and this is what I was worried about. So it's going to be a total of 6. Dane...
Well, I do happen to have a shadow effect cancellation.
I don't think it's necessary.
Well, it means you don't have to worry about keep healing. Well, okay. I mean, it's up to you, it's your character, but I certainly don't mind doing it.
I think we've got to save it for one of those horrible double attacks. So I think we should almost just hang on to that until we know for sure a character is going to get killed.
Alright. And then, so attacking back on my side, Trollshaw Scout doesn't exhaust, and then I'll... Oh, well... Yeah, I'll use Trollshaw and Glorfindel.
Okay. And do you want to discard a card or discard the Trollshaw?
Yeah, I will discard a copy of Spear the Citadel.
Alright, no reason to hang on to that, I suppose. So that's going to be a total of 5 incoming, which is going to end up putting this guy at 6 points of damage. He is killed, and there's really nothing I can do against my Southern mercenaries here. No. So shall we refresh?
So, shadow card goes away.
Right, so I suppose, yes, the shadow card is gone. At the very end of the round, Gandalf is going to leave play, but shall we refresh?
Yep.
Okay, so refresh, I'm at 38 threat. Gandalf leaves play. Celador ends up taking 1 point of damage. You've made me first player. I will draw 2 cards, and I will do my resources and trigger my steward. I will go ahead and do a Daron's Runes. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 2 cards and pick one to discard, and this is beyond perfect timing. I could potentially make our current quest card a hell of a lot easier for us.
Okay.
So discarding...
I'm guessing a ready all character sort of deal?
Well, I could
Faramir,
sneak
maybe?
a certain Astari to drop my threat below our threshold.
That would kill Celador. Unless, well, we could heal him ahead of time, I suppose.
And I suppose we could do that, or I could just trigger his ability before questing. But either way, I'll get rid of Daron's Runes here.
Okay.
For my other actions, I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 lore resource for an Erebor Record Keeper, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a card because of Legacy of Durin, and I've got another powerful questing character here. I'm also going to spend 2 resources off of Thorin to do an Erebor Hammersmith, and I suppose neither of us really have a useful attachment at the top of our decks.
Yeah, mine's just Spear of the Citadel.
Right, so I'll return
I mean, I guess...
pointless.
Oh, are you going to take something? I was just going to take it in case I needed to discard again for Trollshaw Scout or something, but...
You know, I think your Spearman is probably going to be more useful than my Legacy of Durin, so... Why don't you go ahead and take that back to your hands.
Okay, Spear. Got it. Done.
Alright. And I've got 3 resources left. That's not quite enough to do everything I want to do, so I'm going to call it quits there.
Okay.
I'll trigger both of these Rangers to go ahead and put a total of 6 progress on our active quest phase, which gets rid of this overgrown trail. And what are you doing for planning?
I will be playing an Unexpected Courage on Varagond.
Alright, sounds pretty good.
That's it for me.
Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I will trigger my Warden of Healing. I will pick Dane, just because this way he's got a reservoir of 7. So if he has to defend against the Southern Mercenaries again, that +3 attack strength wouldn't kill him. And for the other target, I'm going to pick Celador. So this way he'll survive the card I'm about to play, which at the beginning of my quest phase, I will do 1 lore resource for a sneak attack.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
And I'm going to go ahead and put Gandalf into play. So I'm going to drop my threat by 5. As much as I would like to think that this would have dropped both of our threats under 37, I just realized that at the end of each round, last round, we did not actually boost our threat by 2. So in actuality, I'm going to be 36, and the problem here stems from Matthew currently sitting at 38 threat. So I was hoping that we could manage a willpower questing, but at the present moment, it looks like we are going to have to deal with siege. So
Sadly, I have no Elrond's counsels.
yeah, very unfortunate, but it looks like that's just what we're going to have to go up against. So for committing characters to the quest, I'm going to do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I'm going to go ahead and do 2 resources to ready Dane and ready Feely.
Okay. I will send Baragon, Thalin, Trollshaw, and Winged Guardian. So I'm sending 11.
Alright, so your 11 and my 12 ends up making a total of 23 that we're sending to the quest. So, hoping for the best on this very difficult siege quest, let's see what we get. So encounter card number 1 is a Secluded Glade, so far so good. Encounter card number 2, oh shit, is raise each player's threat by the number of questing characters, and this is going to gain Surge. I don't suppose you have a cancel.
Nope.
Alright, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for my questing characters.
And I did 4. So 11.
So it looks like you are going to be at 49 threat, and I'm at 47 threat. So here's hoping we can do this. Let's get rid of this treachery. And the next encounter card is an Ithilien Road.
Did we just win? You're shitting me. That's unreal.
So it looks like we're up against a total of 8 threat. We have sent 23 to the quest. 23 minus 8 is 15, and would you look at that, at you sitting at 49 threat, me sitting at 47, you would be eliminated at the end of the round no matter what. We have 15 out of the 15 points required by quest phase 4. So, Matthew, at this point it looks like we have won the scenario. Any final thoughts about Into Ithilien?
Well, I'm glad I didn't send Glorfindel to the quest, though I was worried about that particular treachery. I was like, what if we get this one? And of course we did. I'm a little... for a while here, I thought we had it. But this is the thing with this particular quest. You can be doing really well, and one card is just enough to screw you. Although I think you would have had it on the next turn. Because we would have made... Even if I had threaded out, I still think you probably would have done okay.
Well, I suppose the big trick here is I'd have hit 49, 50 threat at the end of the round.
Oh, so, that's true. You would have. Yep. You
right.
Would have.
So a single quest point made all the difference between us winning and losing. So
yeah, it did. So yeah, not having Light of Valinor was just bad, and it would have kept me from being close or whatever else. But yeah, I mean, I really thought this quest would take us a few more attempts. I think this quest is a good one. Thematically, it's very fun. I like the different quest cards depending on if Kelador lives or dies. So depending on how your deck is sort of constructed, you can go about it different ways. The difficulty with this quest, though, I think, is just that there are so many quest cards that just can absolutely wreck you. And so I think in some senses this quest encourages you to sort of take your time, which of course means dealing with more enemies. You're sort of sneaking up to Caer Andros, I suppose, and so taking your time, not committing that many. Had we not committed that many this time, had we, only wanted to send a few, we might have been in a better position and taken our time on this particular quest card. But yeah, we beat it on the second attempt. I truly, honestly did not expect that to happen. So I am glad that that happened. I think the third quest is the most fun out of the Deluxe expansion here. So I'm definitely looking forward to the Siege.
I just think it's fascinating how this final turn boiled down. If I wouldn't have chosen to drop my threat with Gandalf, I'd have hit the threat cap and I'd have been eliminated, and there is no way that we could have won. If things would have panned out like I wanted them to, where it would have been traditional willpower questing, even though I could have committed my Erebor record keepers to the quest and I'd have had much more willpower from a lot of different characters, at the same time that would have meant so many characters were committed to the quest that you'd have been eliminated entirely once you'd have hit that threat threshold of 50. So things could have panned out completely differently. I feel like we've made it through by the skin of our teeth, but I'm very glad that on our second attempt, we ended up doing it. So I'm thrilled with how this turned out. I'm not sure if I had a good time or not, but I'm certainly relieved that we've made it through. Well, I think that brings this video to a close, so thank you guys so much for taking part in this epic adventure with us. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so. If you've had your own experiences playing Into Ithilien that you'd like to share, we always love to hear about that in the comments below. Next up is going to be our scenario playthrough of the third and final scenario of the Heirs of Numenor Deluxe expansion, the Siege of Caer Andros. So we'll see you again soon.